hear it again for the Creekside Chorus. Go Gators! Great work. If y'all want to, are you guys good standing there for the program? Okay, want to make sure. All right, well, thanks guys for that beautiful performance. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us here today on this beautiful day to celebrate the grand opening of this beautiful building. I'm Jennifer Moore, Director of Media and Community Relations, and I have the pleasure of welcoming you all here today. So before we get started, I want to recognize some of our special guests in attendance. We have Suffolk Mayor Michael D. Duman. We have Councilman Roger Fawcett, Councilman John Rector, Councilman Leroy Bennett. We have Treasurer Ron Williams, Deputy Treasurer Andrew Owen, Clerk of Court Randy Carter, and Fire Chief Michael Baraki. And also very special guests from our Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission. We have Robert Wilkins, Wayne White, and Jean Carmine, as well as City Manager Al Moore and Deputy City Manager Kevin Hughes. So without any further ado, I would like to welcome to the podium for remarks Councilman Roger Fawcett.
Thank you, Jennifer. First off, welcome to everybody for coming out on such a great, wonderful, pretty day. I mean, it doesn't get much better than this, and the temperature is perfect. Today we're having an opportunity to see the product of when you get people together in your city and your organization and your different departments. When you go in here, the example you see is the hard work of everybody involved, from the council, the manager's office and staff, the IT department, Gary with programs, capital programs, and the Parks and Rec folk that are doing a great job, Mark Furman and his group that will be managing this organization over here at the park. It's been a long time coming. We started back, I can remember this conversation very close when we started talking about a rec center out here, and there was some conversation about taking the building from the Army, trading the building from the Army and giving them a piece of property, and how we could transform this beautiful facility here into a rec center that could support many, many people in the Driver, Bennett's Creek area, as well as across the city, because this is certainly open to everyone. This building has a lot of history to it. It was probably originally built back in the 79-80 era, and we came in here after the Army had moved and finally got their building built out there on Carolina Road, I believe. And we came in here and started the process around 2015. We had to give a little, take a little, because we had to kind of lease it back to them for a minute till they got their building. But at the end result, what you see standing here today is the hard work of everybody within the city, government, departments, to bring just an incredible rec center to the north end of Suffolk. And the hours are going to be pretty flexible. I think during the week, Monday through Friday, it's going to be like 2 to 8. And then on Saturdays, it'll be 8 to 12. There'll be no Sundays right now. But this building has the capabilities of having many, many programs established in it. So there'll be many things that'll come along the way that'll be very useful to a lot of people, whether you're very young or up in age like me, that probably could use a little exercise in that massive room that's in there. When you get the chance to take a look, just the exercise room in there is just phenomenal. It's state of the art. And everything in here about the building is state of the art. And it took a little while to get this building from where we received it at to bring it to the standards of what you see today, and redesigning the process at approximately $6.2 million is invested in this process. So I would like for everybody to have an opportunity today to be sure to go in, look around, and hope that you'll spread the word and have many people come out and enjoy this facility. We look for great things to happen here. I want to thank everybody so much for allowing me to have the opportunity as the representative for the Sleepy Hole Borough, which this is in, to be able to come up here and see just what and how phenomenal this place is. And I'm going to take the opportunity to pass my comments over to the Honorable Mayor Mike Duman for his comments. So thank you very much and welcome.
Before I start, let's have another round of applause for the Creekside Elementary School chorus. You guys were good, very good. It may be an omen. I don't know. Usually when that happens, something's getting ready to back over me. Hopefully that won't be the case. And it's your truck. I don't think that's good either. Lord, there's just too much going on right this minute. Hopefully they're not coming to see me. Yeah, we'll give them a second to finish backing up here. I think he's doing it on purpose. All right, we're done. We're going to go anyhow. I want to start. I've been to a lot of events in the last week or 10 days, as Jennifer and the manager know. I mean, it's just been one thing after another, after another, after another. And we've got to work on state of the city, and none of us have really had time to devote to that. So I really haven't prepared anything for today. And I want to apologize up front because I really don't know where I'm going to go with this. This building, this facility is not just a ribbon cutting for me, for obviously from the city standpoint, but I also served here in the U.S. Army Reserve from 75 until 82. When I first got here in 75, this building wasn't here. It was one of those old cinder block buildings, little white cinder block buildings that you used to whitewash. Curtis, I didn't see you over there, buddy. And a lot of individuals that served with the reserves are here today. It's the first time that I've been in this building since 1982, if you can imagine that. At the time that it was built, you can see the design. It was when solar energy and heat efficiency and natural light was first starting to become the words of the day back in the 70s. So that's why you see these slanted roofs. And we've managed, I've always been curious to see what the end result was, because as Councilman Fawcett alluded to, it has been a long journey. That land was transferred in 2015. So let's see, that's thereabouts 8 years to put this together. And one of my former battalion commanders, and I'm going to recognize some people later on, he called me and said, "Mike, I couldn't find the reserve center." And I said, "Well, it's the same place it's been for the last 40-some years." He said, "Well, I went by, I didn't see it." Because back then there wasn't anything here. Close your eyes and envision no school. Close your eyes and envision no houses. Close your eyes and go down all the way down Shoulders Hill Road. We had Pewsville on the other side, and those little brick ranches that are on the right side, that's all there was. So if you haven't, it's just indicative of how our city has grown. When I look back at what it was 40 years ago. I mean, obviously this facility, when I looked at the numbers of what we spent, I was a little concerned. But after walking through it, we got our money's worth. We really did. It is more than impressive. I don't think you could find another rec center, private or public, that would be able to shine a light on this center right here. Where it's located is probably one of the most strategic locations we could possibly have it to serve the citizens that are looking for additional recreational opportunities. We've been talking about the comp plan. How about this, how about that? And one of the things we've been talking about is everybody wants more options, recreational options, be it access to rec centers, access to the water, better parks, better walking trails. It's all what contributes to our citizens' quality of life, and this is certainly going to get the job done. When we were here, and I'm going to swing back now, I'm going to swing back to the reserves again, because we talked about transformation. And I've got some individuals that have come today because they got invited, and I made a few phone calls. So everyone who served in this building, please take a second to stand and be recognized. Back in the 70s, all these individuals that stood up, I would venture to say 95% had active duty time of some type, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. I know that there's at least, I'm going to ask you to stand up and be recognized too. Matter of fact, I'll do it right now. Those that served in Vietnam or anywhere outside the U.S., please stand up. These are individuals that served during a time in our country when it wasn't as easy to serve right now. It was a different time. And those that came back from Vietnam and chose to continue to serve, they didn't have the support and the appreciation from the public that we're able to embrace today. But even when they came back, they chose to serve in the U.S. Army Reserve at a critical time when they needed to have a reserve, because it was the end of Vietnam and a lot of individuals coming on active duty. There was not going to be an active conflict, but we still needed to maintain our troop strength just in case. And those veterans came back here and served in the reserves. A lot of them put in their 20 years plus to retire. Unfortunately, I didn't. I spent 8 years here and 10 years total in the reserve. And they should be commended for that. This was the technical designation. This was the 2nd Battalion of the 4th Brigade of the 80th Division. 1 battalion out of 4, which was in Suffolk, and the other 3 were in Virginia Beach at Fort Story. And the great thing about this battalion is I would say half of the battalion or more were residents of the city of Suffolk. And I developed some of the best relationships that I could have been blessed with just associating with these individuals. A lot of them have passed away, but a lot of them are still here. My first battalion commander, where's Burl Taylor? Where's Burl? Stand up, Burl. Help him up, Ollie. Burl Taylor served here as a battalion commander in 1975, and then, like everything else, you get moved out after a couple years, got promoted, and retired as a full colonel. Next to him is Ollie Creekmore. He also served here. He was my first company commander, and you may recognize Ollie as being on Planning Commission. He has been on the Planning Commission. He was on the EDA before that. And so he has served in this building, and he's continuing to serve our city, and I thank you very much for that service. Isaac Baker, another Suffolk resident who's he's still active in the registrar's office right now. He was one of my supply sergeants, and he was fairly easy to wake up when he was asleep. So we gave him an extra ribbon for that. And I have some of you guys I didn't serve with, so I can't really say anything, but there's a bunch here that have. Vernon Gale and Charlie Sutton, stand up for me. These two guys, one of the jobs I got as a young lieutenant was to be a recruiting officer in a reserve unit. So it was actually pretty cool. We didn't have to answer to anybody, and we used to go to the mall. We'd go to what was it, Tower Mall back then. We used to go to the malls and kind of troll around and see if we could find people we could sign up. And I'll tell you how far back this goes. Vernon lives in Chuckatuck, and I used to pick him up and ride across the Kings Highway Bridge, if y'all can remember that. That was a couple years ago. So thank you guys very much. Charlie, same way. Charlie's in his 90s and served. Both of them retired. Curtis, I'll have to ask you to stand up. Curtis Holland, one of our drill instructors. A lot of these guys were drill instructors. You take a guy like Curtis, who's about 6'3" or 4", and you put one of them Smokey the Bear hats on him. He looks like he's 7 feet tall, and nobody messes with him. Ron Evers, same way. Please stand up. Ron Evers was one of our drill instructors. He's a combat Vietnam vet, and I couldn't respect him more for what he's done and how he served here. And everybody else that served here, thank you very much. I'm bad on names. Who did I miss? I missed somebody. I knew it was going to get me in trouble. but you got to remember that was 40 years ago. Let me just recognize who else is here. Donald Holland, Sergeant First Class, if you're here. McKinley Holloway. There he is, all the way in the back hiding. Jerry Faulkner, First Sergeant. Susie Sewell, Command Sergeant Major. You got too many stripes. Command Sergeant Major. Michael Kelly. There you are. I don't think Larry Riddick's here. I mentioned Vernon Charles, Colonel Taylor, Melvin Wiggins, in the back. Most of these are Suffolk people now. Marvin Green, Sergeant Major, and Ollie Creekmore. And Ollie, I don't think Max Kowalski made it today. His wife might not have let him come. I think is probably the problem. And that pretty much takes it for the reserves. But between these walls, a lot of people served, and this building is going to continue to serve the citizens of Suffolk well into the future. It really is quite an amazing transformation. Councilman Fawcett alluded to a couple of the numbers. It's 10.5 acres, 16,600 square feet, $6.1 million, which sounds like a lot, but it still came out to $368 a square foot, which in today's day and age is a good deal. So with that being said, I think I would like to mention a couple other things. I know you all hate it. But where Pughesville is, do any of you guys remember going to a brush fire in Pughesville on a Sunday? Yeah, that was kind of weird. I mean, nothing was out here then. I mean, the Chuckatuck Volunteer Fire Department maybe serviced this, but it was on a Sunday morning during one of our drills, and we saw some smoke, and there was a brush fire in Pughesville. And everybody from the unit found something to go out there, grab a shovel, a rake, or something, and help put that fire out until the firefighters actually arrived to put it out. So that was the kind of camaraderie and service that was being offered from the individuals that were here. I don't know what else to say. Yes, sir.
I'd like to say on Sunday night, I got a phone call from the state of Virginia. They want to know why the National Guard was over there in the brush fire.
What?
Somebody in the fire department knew my name and knew my telephone number, and they gave it to a guy in Richmond. He said, I'm the commander-in-chief for the National Guard. I said, well, it was federal troops over there, not local. Oh, someone said it's
It wasn't me. I wouldn't give him your number because I know how crotchety you are. Yeah, most people do. Another thing we used to do, just reminisce a little bit, talk about the Chuckatuck Volunteer Fire Department and how it was so involved with the community. Every Christmas, and Vernon will remember this because you might have been fire chief back then or assistant fire chief or something, we would arrange for the fire engine to come at Christmas time, and someone would dress up and bring Santa in on that last meeting in December, and you were allowed to bring your family and your kids. And I know that was always the highlight of the year. So in closing, I want to thank the manager, our capital improvement people, our parks and rec people for making this happen. I think it's going to be a huge asset for years and years to come that we can all appreciate, we can all enjoy, and well into the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. I was very impressed that you can remember that many names. I think it was 41 years ago. Yeah. So I also wanted to recognize a couple more special guests. We've got Vice Mayor Lou Ward here with us today. Hi, Vice Mayor. And we've got Councilman Leotis Williams also with us today, as well as Aziz Felder, Deputy City Manager, in the back as well. And now I would like to welcome the Director of Parks and Recreation and the man behind the building behind me, Mark Furlow, to the podium. Mark?
Thank you, Jennifer. This was really a group effort. This was not, I didn't have a whole lot to do with this, but it was really a collective effort. And I want to recognize some of the folks that were involved in this project. First off, I'd like to recognize our former director, Lakita Frazier, who, without her, this project never would have started. I kind of walked into it. I'd also like to recognize Helen Gabriel, our former assistant director, who couldn't be here today, and Mike Kelly, our former park planner, who was the first project manager for Parks and Recreation on this project. And I'd like to recognize Christy Fisher, our current park planner, who kind of took over as project manager. Christy, raise your hand. I would also like to recognize our architect, Wiley Wilson. Mia Gillum is here somewhere. Thank you, Mia. Mia has been fabulous to work with. Wiley Wilson did a great job designing this building, and I can't wait for you all to get a chance to get inside and take a look at what they came up with. I'd also like to recognize Ballacor. We had some great superintendents on this job, Gary Jackson and Zach. I think you guys are in the back. Wave your. And then I would be remiss to not mention Gary Jones with Capital Programs. I know Gary's out here somewhere. And his team, they were key in getting this project built. We couldn't have done anything without them. And then all of the other Parks and Recreation staff, we have some former staff here today and current staff that have been involved in the planning or the ordering of equipment, or there's just too many names to mention, but there have been a lot of people involved in this building, and I am really excited to get this ribbon cut so we can all go inside and check it out. So let's go ahead and, Mayor, Councilman, if you want to come up, we can get this ribbon cut. And can we go ahead and get all those that served in the reserves in the building to come up too for a photo op? Thank you.